Okay. All right, welcome everyone. This is the Goffstown Budget Committee's public hearing for 2026. It's January 15th. I am Elizabeth DeBrule, the committee's chairperson. I'm going to start us all off with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could please stand and turn toward the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up, we are going to do a roll call of the committee members, and Doug, I'll have you start us off.
Doug Pounds.
Mark Renard, Village Water Precinct.
Israel Carey.
Joe Alexander.
Rich Carroll.
Richard Manzo, Select Board Rep.
Olivia Welcher et al.
Peter Grigorokakis.
Brian Mazer.
Laura Stevens.
Elizabeth DeBrule.
Allison DeCesare.
Jared Talbot, School Board Rep.
Okay, so our purpose here tonight is to present to the public the budget that we have worked with town and school officials to finalize and craft over the last several months. We're going to give you kind of the 30,000-foot view. I'll be honest, we're not going to rattle off a bunch of numbers at you because our job is not to cure everyone of insomnia, but it's to actually give you some information about how we got here. What budget did we produce? What does it fund? And what did we choose to take out? And why did we make the decisions we made? So overall, the goal for the committee has been to produce budgets that we think have the best chance of passing, because default budgets are bad for everybody. So we want to make budgets that have a good chance of passing, but we are also very conscious of this balance between services and taxes. So those are the sort of topmost things in our minds. If you want more details after tonight, they are available. We have handouts. Hopefully you grabbed on the way in. Those handouts will be available on the school side and the town side websites. There's also additional information on both the town and school websites about all these budgets and all these decisions we made. And also, all of the Budget Committee's meetings are available to watch on GTV's YouTube page. So you can go back and watch the whole season and get the details. We're not trying to deprive anybody of the nitty-gritty. We just want to make this understandable so that voters get a sense of what they are, the decisions that they're making. So we are going to start off tonight with the town operating budget. And Peter Grigorokakis is going to be presenting that.
The one thing I didn't check is, am I going to be able to, am I going to be able to be checking my slides?
Derek's going to help.
Thank you.
All right, you're all set. You can just up and down to get through.
Down. Perfect. Welcome, everyone. Again, my name is Peter Grigorokakis, and I will be presenting the Goffstown town budget for tonight. What season are we on of Budget Committee, by the way? You said season. Are we on season 3 at this point?
Funny.
Okay, so as part of the town's warrant articles, we essentially have 3 types of appropriation articles that we'll be looking at tonight. I will be starting first with those that town operating budget. Later we'll be hearing about the sewer enterprise fund, and then additional special warrant articles, specifically those attached to appropriation, so spending. Okay, and we're going to start off right away with the numbers that we're looking at for this coming year in terms of what our proposed budget is. So what's included in our town's budget? The town operating budget includes our police, fire and emergency services, parks and recreation, the town library, our town's administration, and our Department of Public Works, responsible for, among other things, our trash collection and road repair and maintenance. For 2026, the proposed operating budget being brought before you is $27,519,425. This amounts to a 5.4% increase over the approved operating budget from 2025. Okay, I really want to talk about the process, How do we get to this number? Before getting to the Budget Committee, the operating budget was first reviewed by the Town Select Board. So we start with a starting point of 13.8%. That means an increase, a proposed increase of 13.8% over last year's budget. I can safely say to everyone that absolutely no Budget Committee member was prepared to move forward with proposing a 13.8% increase over our current year's budget. So there's a significant difference between 13.8% and 5.4% that we landed on. So how did we get there? First, we heard from our town department heads as they presented their proposals and the status of their departments. This was the first time Budget Committee members had the opportunity to ask high-level and detail-level questions, but I just want to be clear, this was not the last. You're going to see later that we had to go back and forth on this. And then we looked at in-depth comparisons. So this means reviewing the 2025 budget against that 2026 proposal and also looking at where we were in terms of the spend for those budget lines, literally budget line by line, seeing where they were for the year and whether we thought they were really utilizing that line or not. Next, we talk about targeted reductions. These are a collaborative approach between us, the department heads, the select board, to see if we could come back to the table and reach additional targeted reductions to that budget line. I know this is super fascinating. Hang with me. We got this. Okay, budget priorities that we had for this year. Okay, we, as Chair Elizabeth said, we wanted to bring a budget proposal that takes into account both our residents as taxpayers and of residents of our community. In 2025, the Budget Committee set a priority to support the retention and recruitment of our town's employees by focusing on non-union wages. This partly came at a cost to capital long-term investments that we had to cut out of that budget. We prioritized bringing some of those back in this operating budget year. You'll see later that this did not come without additional compromise. Okay, so what's included in this year's budget in terms of increases that we're looking at and things that we prioritized? First, we're going to note that some of those increases are contractual. So we have CBAs that town people have voted on that are now considered part of that budget. So that's our police officers, CBA, police dispatchers and clerks, firefighters and fire lieutenants. Among others, we have non-union wages, which we're going to dive into quite a bit later. The increased costs of our technology infrastructure, of course, important health and safety devices and investments for our fire and police department. Then we just have cost increases overall, cost increases to utilities, cost increases at the operations level. And lastly, we talk about significant increases to our solid waste tipping fees, along with state-mandated landfill surcharges that are new for this year. The state has stated there will be offsetting revenues. However, we have not gone through this process yet, so this will be the first time going through. Okay, so now we have to talk a little bit about those priorities for this upcoming year. We wanted to add in some of those capital assets, like we said, that we had underfunded in the prior year. So that meant bringing back, part of it was brought back, part of it was an increase. 3 police cruisers accounting for the increased cost in those police cruisers. Paving of the library parking lot with the 2025 drainage improvements. A dump truck and roll-off trailer. And though not an increase from last year, we determined to maintain 2025's road plan in the operating budget. And we moved the option to increase that road plan in a separate warrant article for voters to consider. That will be presented to you later this evening. Okay, in order to accomplish that and get to that 5.4% that we landed at, again, there absolutely had to be some cuts. So ultimately, we cut $2,187,372 from the proposed budget that was brought to us by the Select Board. Some were larger cuts. These are single items, such as reducing the benefits line by $219,000. Another was removing the funding for a vacant building and zoning inspector position. This was among the only vacant position at the time in the town. Then came another round of deep dives into operating lines. As I mentioned, right, initially our budget committee sat with our department heads and they presented their budget, and then we asked questions. And we found that we needed another round of doing this so that we could really be able to maintain some of those larger projects that we wanted to invest in. So this meant those town department heads going back to work with us, and we were able to come up with an additional $130,000 in cuts there. Mind you, some of these cuts are literally in the single digits. So we're talking about a deep dive, $8. There are some small cuts and there are some large cuts that amount to that $130,000 amount. Lastly, we had to come back and look at targeted reductions, okay? And I want to emphasize, not all capital projects were safe at this point. Some, like the culvert program and fire department boat, were removed altogether. Others were moved to the operating budget, out of the operating budget into special article, which again, you'll be hearing about later tonight. I mentioned non-union staff. So that was a priority last year to get our non-union staff up to just under a 60th percentile in terms of their peers. Okay, so that means local communities, so that we could really focus on retention and recruitment of quality staff. Over the past year, the town was filled, as I mentioned, that one vacancy earlier that we cut. We filled all but that one vacancy. To me, that shows a sign that this has worked. With the Select Board's initial budget proposal, they brought an additional change for 2026 regarding these wages. This past year, another of the town's employees, this past year, the town's employees received their increases on July 1st. For this coming year, the proposal is to move these increases to January 1st. The initial increase would have been for 6.6% starting July 1st for the year. Working together with the Budget Committee, we brought that number down, again, starting at an earlier date. So I don't believe this amounts to anything less for our employees. So we're still supporting our employees, but also supporting the tax rate. We brought that down to 3.3% for the year. But again, brought that date to January 1st, which aligns with our budget year for the town because it is on a calendar year. So projected revenues are also accounted for in our proposed budget. It does not just account for expenditures. The projected general fund revenues for 2026 are $7,362,236. With the bulk of this revenue coming from motor vehicle registration fees and meals and room distributions, and those projected to remain flat for 2026, only a modest increase was added to those revenue projections for this year. For years, related to our debt, the town has carried very little debt. That continues into 2026, where the only sources of debt are $54,000 for the 2011 Lynchfield Dennis Park water line. This is offset through betterment payments. And $141,062 for the 2016 Church Street Fire Station bond. Okay. Now we're diving a little bit more into those numbers that we mentioned earlier. Up on the screen, you see the budget from 2025. This is what was approved by voters. It includes a fire CBA that was also approved by voters that year, so that becomes part of operating budgets going forward. Overall, again, those increases are going to amount, in terms of our proposed budget, to a 5.4% increase over 2025. This, to me, is probably the most important part. Based on the median single-family home assessment value, so that median assessment is at $416,000. If you want to do the math yourself, you're going to calculate that more or less. Based off of that and an anticipated or estimated 46-cent tax rate, we're looking at about $191.64 as the cost of these increases on the tax bill. Before I move on to that next slide, I just want to make sure, so on this slide, we're talking about the operating budget of 2025 compared to the proposed for 2026. Okay, but that is not all that exists. As was mentioned, we also have a default budget that we need to account for. So regardless of what happens when town meeting occurs and people vote yay or nay on this budget proposal, there will be a budget increase. And our default budget shows what that budget increase will be, okay? In terms of the increase, we will be looking at a $534,000 increase, essentially no matter what at that point. Now, if we look at the increase between our proposed budget and the default, that difference itself lies at $870,000. So that is essentially what we came together, working together with budget committee members, with our department heads, with our select board, and came up with priorities in terms of what we felt we needed to be bringing to voters this year. Thank you, and next we'll open up for questions.
If anyone has questions, you can come down and use either of the mics here in the front. You also have opportunities throughout the night. We'll stop at various points to get questions and comments, so you don't have to make them right this second if you want to mull things over a little bit. Is there anyone with any questions or comments before we move on? Okay. Next up, we are going to be looking at the, Derek Horn is going to be presenting a series of warrant articles on the town side.
Thank you. Again, Derek Horn, Town Administrator. The first article is what's going to be Article number 10, is our Sewer Enterprise Fund. For people that have followed the town budget closely over the last few years, in 2024, the EMS fund was changed to a revolving fund and no longer goes before voters at town meeting. And in 2025, this past year, was the first year where we broke out the town's general fund and the sewer enterprise fund as two separate articles. That way, if the town is in default, we don't force the sewer in default and vice versa. This year, the sewer commissioners did a deep review of their budget and made reductions throughout. So as you can see on the screen, their proposed budget is actually lower than their default budget and their budget from last year. So their proposed budget is $2,225,081. This fund is funded through sewer user fees and has no tax impact at all. Are there any questions? Okay, Article number 11. This year, The Select Board and the town negotiated a 3-year collective bargaining agreement with DPW Teamsters. This particular CBA has 24 covered positions at DPW. What we did was, when working with this group, we targeted the 50th percentile, and we really focused on southern New Hampshire communities, and we looked at what other existing CBAs going into 2026 we're going to have for wage increases. So we looked at those 24 communities as well as New Hampshire Department of Transportation. Another thing that we did is we looked at this contract has differentials for specialized certifications. So the town negotiated a slight increase to the differential for CDLA drivers because that is a need and provides operational flexibility for the department. And we also added a new Waymaster differential. This is a very important differential because we need to have a certified Waymaster to have the transfer station scales operational and to be able to charge for trash and waste as it comes across. So if we have sicknesses or absences and we don't have Waymaster certifications, we lose some of that revenue. So this is an effort to try and add to that flexibility. There were some changes throughout to health plans as well as adjustments to some of our sick leave and parental leave language. And we also negotiated language relative to vehicle tracking devices and cameras in the discipline process. And the costs that will appear on the ballot, what you have here before you are the wage increases along with the required deductions. We did make a change to the weekly insurance opt-out for those employees that are maybe under 26 and still on their parents' insurance, or they're on their spouse's insurance. We do give them an incentive. It's a savings to the town for those employees that do opt out. There was a slight increase there to match the firefighters union, what they received last year. And then the town has always provided these employees with uniforms, and we're just making an adjustment and adding T-shirts beginning on July 1st. So that shows the increases up on the screen. The projected tax rate impact in 2026 is 2 cents. It's actually probably about 1.7 cents on the tax rate, but without rounding. And so rounding 2 cents, which cost the median single-family residential property $8.33 for the entire year. And I'd be happy to field any questions about the Teamsters CBA. Okay. Article number 12. The Goffstown Select Board, throughout the budget process, had conversations back and forth with the Budget Committee. Last year, as Peter explained, there was a cut to our CIP budget, and that included a cut to the road plan. It reduced the road plan from $1.6 million, where it had been since 2020, down to $1,105,000. There was a separate article on the budget last year, but that failed by just 74 votes when it went to town meeting. And there was, anybody that was at deliberative session, you might have recalled, there was quite a bit of discussion. So this year, the Select Board did put forward a special article to fund the road plan with an additional $450,000 from unassigned fund balance. Unassigned fund balance, that is monies that have been collected, so it's really an underspend of the appropriation at the end of the year, or over-collection of revenues beyond what we predict in the fall when tax rate is set. So the Select Board, following their fund balance policy, has proposed to put forward this article and get us back to the level funding that we had from 2020 to 2024. So again, this would add it. There will not be language that these additional funds would be added to the default budget that had been used in years prior, but we are not going to do that this year. DPW maintains over 260 lane miles of roadway. And again, this will be funded from unassigned fund balance, so it'll have no impact on next year's tax rate, as these have already been collected. I'd be happy to answer any questions on this article.
Yes, my name is Joe Spurl. I live at 33 Birch Court. I have a question about the road program. So for reclamation, we're looking at about 1.6 million if you add up or I guess it's just over 2 million.
So-
If the warrant article passes, the special article.
Yes, so right now, there is a portion in the DPW operating budget for resurfacing. CIP, you have just over 1.1 million in reclamation, and this would add another 450,000.
Right, okay, so some of that is resurfacing.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering, we have 130 miles of roadway in the town. That means we probably need to be reclaiming several miles a year, I mean, to keep up with it. I mean, if we were only doing 1 mile a year, that wouldn't be enough because none of our roads are designed to last 130 years. So I'm just wondering, is that really enough? Is
No.
that going to keep?
No, it is not.
It's not enough.
No, so I would invite anybody to go back and watch, I don't recall the exact date, it was a September presentation by our DPW director to the Budget Committee. These funds are split between maintenance, resurfacing roads, or just putting a top layer over those roads that have been completed in the last 10 years to full reclamation, where you get down into the drainage and everything. Adam proposed $1.8 million in reclamation plus the resurfacing, and that would have been basically our break even you're losing 260 lane mile years every year. That would preserve 260 lane mile years. So our roads are going to get a bit older this year, and we are going to lose some of that capital asset. But I think it's a balancing act between the needs of the operating budget and the capital. So hopefully that answers your question.
So my name's Steve Monier. I live on New Boston Road in Goffstown. Longtime resident. If I'm looking at that chart right, we had some years where we were severely behind in what we should be doing. Is that correct?
Yes,
And we haven't caught up to that.
we have not.
So, our infrastructure, roads especially, are very important to the community. And I'd like future budget committee and select boards to consider bonding so that we can get caught up at some point. I mean, let's face it, roads are the welcome mats to our community, and some of them are in terrible shape. So I'd ask you to consider that going forward, because we can't keep falling behind.
Thank you. Again, I think Adam touched on that a little bit during his September presentation. We have to be thoughtful about how many contractors are actually out there that can do some of this work. The majority of the work is done in-house to save us, make it a little bit more affordable, rather than putting it out to paving companies and construction companies to do the whole part. But we can definitely take that back to the select board.
If I could just ask a follow-up. So how many miles would we be able to reclaim if all the funds are approved here?
Adam, can you give me a ballpark? Oh, yeah, right on.
Anybody know any good jokes? All right, well, I'm gonna skip. rather than keep everybody at the seat of their, or edge of their seats here. So with the proposed funding, we will be well under a mile of full reclamation. It really gets pretty expensive once you start dealing with all the drainage and the subsurface gravels and all that. But with the proposed funding, what we can really do is stem the tide of the loss of age or the loss of condition on a lot of the roads that we've invested in over the last 10, 15 years. Some of our main collector roads, Tyrrell Hill, we've got some section of East Dunbarton Road and Montalona Road as well that will be included. So some of these roads that a lot of people use that were reclaimed about a decade ago, and if we don't do something quick, we get into that failure curve where it gets really steep and we lose a lot of road life in a very short period of time. So we wouldn't have as much reclamation work as we'd like, but it would at least start to get some of those completely failed roads finally some attention after 30, 40, 50 years in some cases.
Derek, I just want to add one other final point on this. This was the final cut that the Budget Committee made on this budget. We considered it early in the process, and we voted against it because several of us on the committee really did not want to cut the road plan. But in the end, we felt that we had to, or the operating budget would be too high to pass. So this was the last cut we made. It was the last thing we wanted to do, basically.
And I think, speaking for the select board, I think that's why they chose to fund this from unassigned fund balance with the hopes that it would go through last year. It would have been from taxation. And again, it failed by, I think it was like 74 votes. So that's what the select board's trying to do here. All right, seeing no other questions, I'll move on to article number 13. So this is the annual deposit into the town's fire apparatus capital reserve fund. This was established at town meeting in 2008. The agents to expend from it are the Goffstown Select Board for the purpose of fire apparatus. And when we say fire apparatus, this is really our large engine, tankers, towers, not necessarily the command vehicles that you see on a daily basis. Those go into our CIP in the operating budget. So up on the screen here, you can see a little bit of the history of deposits that have gone into it. In 2024, we proposed, rather than unassigned fund balance, we proposed to place a deposit in using taxation, and that failed. So last year, we went back to unassigned fund balance with the hopes that it would pass. The Goffstown Fire Department maintains a vehicle matrix, and they look 20 years out. In 2026, using the current funds that are in the capital reserve fund, which again, that balance is just over $1.1 million, they will be replacing engine 3. Now, they will be, I should say, they will be ordering a replacement for engine 3. Right now, the actual delivery time is 36 months, give or take. So once they order that, it's going to take a few years for it actually to be constructed and brought in. And then, as you can see there, in 2030, Tower 1 will be 20 years old, and then Tanker 1 will be right behind it. And just stepping back to the prior slide, we do have a projection of where the fund is going with annual deposits. That projection does not take into account any interest that's earned on it. The fund did earn over $44,000 of interest in this year. It's in the public deposit investment pool, PDIP, and we had a very good return this year of almost 4.3%. So the projection does not show interest, but this was done in 2008 in an effort to, rather than hitting the taxpayers with a big cost, as you can see here, a big cost all in 1 year, you're kind of setting money aside. It's kind of like a savings account. So hopefully that explains that, and be happy to answer any questions about that. Okay. So in that vein, this year, the Goffstown Select Board are putting forward an article to establish and put an initial deposit and to name agents for a Goffstown Public Library Capital Reserve Fund. So again, this would establish the fund and put an initial deposit of $50,000 from unassigned fund balance. It would also name the library trustees as agents to expend from the Capital Reserve Fund. As hopefully everyone here is aware, this year the library was successful with an LCHIP application for the restoration of their historic windows. This Capital Reserve Fund is really designed to be available to be a local match on grant applications. It shows community support and it improves the chances for successful grant funding. When we look at a lot of the funding that's available for these historic buildings, one of the things they look at is what is the community willing to put in. So this is following that vein and to give the Library Board of Trustees some funds to leverage for available grants. The Library Board of Trustees does have a list of projects that they are starting to prioritize, and they're starting to get quotes on those so that they can start and seek out those grants. Again, this would be funded from unassigned fund balance, and it would have no new amount raised by taxation. I'd be happy to answer any questions on this one. All right. Article number 15, the Select Board is putting forward the replacement of the 2012 curbside packer truck. This truck was in the 2024 budget, but again, that operating budget failed at town meeting and we were under default budget. And last year was proposed again and it was cut from the budget. Right now, DPW has 2 frontline packers and then they have 2 older backup packers. But the 2 frontline packers operate 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. And as you can see here, it's over 16.6 million pounds of trash and recycling that they're collecting and bringing back. The Goffstown Select Board were faced with a little bit of a tough decision on this one. Initially, they wanted to pay for this from unassigned fund balance, but they made the decision to prioritize the road plan. So this article will be seeking $430,000 from new taxation. The projected tax rate impact will be 16 cents, which for the median single-family home is just over $66. And again, this is very important because as these trucks age with the arm going up and down and thousands of stop every day, there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done on them. And it has about an approximate 2-year lead time from order to delivery. So even ordering this today, all 4 packers are going to be 2 years older when it finally does get delivered. Be happy to answer any questions on this. All right. And the final warrant article put forward by the Select Board is to reinstate Select Board stipends. This was proposed by the Select Board, and it's a monthly stipend. This stipend has been in place since at least 1999 when we have budget detail looking back. The Select Board is a very busy board. They serve as ex officio members, voting members on many different community committees, boards, as well as advisory on some of our other boards. They also participate and are there with every meeting for CBA negotiations. On a weekly basis, they're reviewing all invoices, they're reviewing all payroll, they review all of that and have to sign off on this. The amount is $29,323. That includes the stipend as well as the required deductions. It has a projected tax rate impact of 1 cent, which would have a cost of $4.17 to the median single-family residents. Be happy to answer any questions on this one.
Hi, Shannon Carey, 16 Gorham Pond Road. So I understand that we use a bottom line budget system, but my question is not whether the Select Board can restore line items removed, but whether it should. So when voters approved the budget last year that deliberately moved these stipends, why did the select board treat the decision as advisory rather than binding, and why are they asking for the money again?
So I think you could talk to the individual select board members. The board made that vote to make the budget transfer. With this warrant article going before the voters, there is a no means no law. So if this were to be defeated at town meeting, they would not have the ability to perform a budget transfer.
Yeah, I was just going to add that the Budget Committee has not considered this. We haven't seen this warrant article yet. It just got moved forward. So we haven't discussed it yet or I don't know, had any significant talk about it yet. So.
Yep. And then just to kind of circle back around and summarize from the operating budget all the way through all of the articles, what you can see here is the appropriation amount for each of those articles, any offsetting revenues, tax rate impact, and the impact to a median single-family house. And be happy to take any comments or questions on any of the articles.
Henry Geisen, 20 Amoskeag Drive. Probably should have asked this a few minutes ago, but what do we have in unassigned funds right now?
So unassigned fund balance at tax rate setting was just over $8.9 million.
Thank you.
By the way, the last Budget Committee meeting on Tuesday night had a pretty full discussion about the unreserved fund balance and how it worked and what was involved with it. So I recommend anybody going back and reviewing that on GTV. It's toward the end of the meeting. You can find out more about the unreserved fund balance. All right. We're doing school? School or water?
We'll do school.
All right, so next up is the school budget. We can always come back and talk about the town budget at the end of the evening, but we're going to switch over to the school side now. Alan DeCesare will be presenting on that.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out tonight. Again, my name is Allison DeCesare. I'm a member of the Goffstown Budget Committee, and tonight I'm going to be presenting the school budget. So first, I just listed out the warrant articles for the school. The only one that I'm going to touch upon right now will be the operating budget, and my friend over here, Jared Talbot, will be discussing the others after this presentation is done. So first, I wanted to just talk about what is the Goffstown school budget. There are 2,920 young minds being educated by 468.27 full-time equivalent staff members at 5 schools and 235 acres. This is not an insignificant thing. We have a kindergarten, 2 elementary schools, a middle school, a high school. There's a lot of people involved in this. Some things to keep in mind. Goffstown performs above the average in their national testing. But at the same time, we are below average in our per pupil cost. We're the lowest in the state, in fact. The number difference is $4,888 between what we spend per pupil and what the state average is. And we are the lowest, let me just clarify, for any other schools with the K through 12 like we have here in town. And contrary to the state trend, which is seeing a decrease in enrollment, Goffstown's basically staying pretty stable with our enrollments, and there are a multitude of new developments coming, so we're expecting, even though you can't guarantee, that that enrollment is actually going to increase. The budget is broken up into 3 funds. The general fund, which I'm going to get into a little more detail after this. The food services fund, which is not from taxation. This is funded by New Hampshire, the federal government, and the lunch fees that people pay, kids mostly. or their parents, I shall say. And then the grants fund, also not from taxation. This one is funded by state and federal grants, and we only access those funds when we have the offsetting grants. So to move a little more into our budget, what were the priorities that we are seeing? I know this is shocking, but we want to continue to offer high-quality education. Seems like it should be our #1 priority for the school every single year. Attract and retain quality educators. Just like the town, the schools need to keep competitive in this very, very competitive race. We're seeing teacher shortages across the country. Facility maintenance repairs. All of our buildings are getting older. Keeping up with repairs and maintenance is a must to extend their lives. And IT infrastructure. This is on the infrastructure and the educational side. I'm going to touch a little bit more on that in a moment. So looking at the major things that increased the budget this year. Manchester School of Technology, MST tuition, we have an increase of $250,000. If you aren't aware, MST offers career and technical education programs that our Goffstown students can take part in. Historically, 75% of that cost was paid by the state and 25% by Goffstown. In 2024, when we received our final bill, there was a significant shortfall. It ended up the district paid 57% of it that year. And this is something that we're expecting is going to continue, likely to the extent that the state won't be funding it at all and Goffstown will be responsible for this if we want to keep that program going. And it seems to be a pretty good consensus that we do want that for our kids. This next one is the EMC municipal leasing. This was a lease that came about for energy efficiency improvements across all of the schools, including new boilers, LED lighting, roof replacement, and weatherization. We are paying it back over 17 years, and this is the first year that it's a significant new payment. And then IT, as I mentioned before, much of Goffstown's technology is what most people would consider obsolete. For security and education, we need to start investing in that to help our kids and to help our community as a large to stay secure. So what did the budget committee cut? We made one $500,000 flat budget reduction. Similar to the town, we reviewed the budgets line by line. It's by departments, by schools, so much detail. And we kept noticing that the health insurance line seemed to be underspent in most years. And we really, between talking about it, decided this was maybe a place that we could take the budget down just a little bit. So that passed, and in doing so, additional analysis was done, and it appears that this cut will have no disruption to the school system, which is really what we wanted. We had no intention of taking services away from the kids or teacher salaries or anything like this. It just seemed like this number could be adjusted a little bit. So the full budget with all three funds had a 1.34 increase from the FY26 approved to the default budget, and then a 1.93% increase to the proposed budget. I'll give you a second if anybody wants to look at that, so don't run past it. But what does that mean? So our current tax rate is 11.59. The estimated tax rate on the default would be $11.88, which is a 2.5% increase. The estimated tax rate on the proposed budget is $12, which is a 3.5% increase. And that breaks down to be, for the default, a 29% increase in your tax rate, increasing the median house tax amount by $120.64. And if the proposed is approved, it's at the $12 tax rate, it's a 41-cent change, which would increase your taxes on the average house $170.56. Does anybody have any questions?
Hi, Joe Sproul. I'm just curious about the Manchester School of Technology. How many students take advantage of that option? Yeah, and I'm assuming that's the high school level, right? So
Yes,
just-
it's sophomore, juniors, and seniors that can go
Okay.
there. Do you want to take that one?
We're going to bring up our associate principal, Mr. Tim, since he's on top of it. I don't want to give an improper number of 107 students. He'll have the more precise number.
It was just over 100, I can get the exact number.
You're right, Jared.
107.
I think it's also important to note that some districts have to limit the number of students who can attend a technical school like this, and we do not do that. And that has been a priority. Superintendent Faulty pointed out that has been a priority, that every student who is interested in continuing their education in that way is free to do so.
Come on, I'm done.
Christine Templeton, Kennedy Hill Road. I just have a general question. On the handout, it has the district budget, which I assume is the SAU building where the superintendent and there's some admin. How many employees are there, right, around 25?
So first of all, it's not just the district building, it's a whole series of positions that they're working like among multiple schools. We can get you the number. I don't know the number of how many people are.
About 25 is right.
About
Okay.
25, Superintendent Balke says.
And how many employees are employed at the high school?
I'm going to defer to them again.
So all of that info is in our handouts. We have about 100 teachers,
At the high school?
right, Tim?
Just so people can hear, he said all the information is in the handouts, and there's roughly 100 teachers at the high school.
Yeah, it was all combined. So I guess my question is, so the district budget is over 13 million, and the high school budget is 16 million, and there's 75 more employees at the high school, and it just seems a little odd. Like, is anything reviewed in that respect as well?
So there are, it's not just staff, first of all. And that's the main thing. So there are like district-wide systems that are covered in the district budget, not just the people, but the actual systems. That's part of it. It's also, I think you get a broader range of salaries at the high school than you do at the district.
Okay,
Because
thank
you
you.
have people in all different capacities that you don't have at the district level. Is that?
Hi, Diane McCarthy. Allison, could you please repeat what the cost shortfall was for MST tuition? Did you say that was from the state level?
In 2024, Goffstown paid 57% when we'd previously been paying 25% of the cost.
And what drove that?
I'm sorry?
What drove that? What drove that increase?
The state funding is cut.
So this is cost downshifting from the state?
Yes.
Can anybody tell us how much is in this budget that is a result of cost downshifting from the state?
Across the board?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I know that's a big
Yeah,
one.
that's a big one, maybe?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
We did discuss this a little bit early on, and I don't remember, I remember this MST change being the big hit this year. In previous years, there were bigger hits that continued into this year, but I'm going to defer again to Doug and Brian Balke. The only one I remember from this year was MST.
Right, okay. And of course, we have had cumulative expenses from way back when I sat at the school board table.
Did I forget
Hundreds of
anything?
thousands.
Were there others?
Right.
Good evening, everyone. I'll come sit with Mr. Talbot. My name is Brian Balke. I'm the superintendent of schools. I think what Mrs. McCarthy is asking about are the many unfunded mandates in the state of New Hampshire. We continue to see the downshifting of costs from Concord. So the latest version of that is the reduction in CTE programming. There are a lot of other examples. In fact, there's an entire list that is maintained of all the unfunded mandates in the state of New Hampshire. And some of them are small, but some of them are significant. Other examples of downshifting of cost have been reductions in the amount that the state pays for retirement, increasing the amount the district pays, increasing the amount the employees pay. There are a lot of examples of downshifting in costs. And I appreciate that the Budget Committee supported this because the CTE programming is very important to our high school kids. We want to have kids go into the trades. We want to make sure that we're keeping kids in our local community. It's important for us to know, even though we support kids going on to higher education, going on to some kind of post-secondary education is not for everybody. So we need people to go into the trades. And these are great paying jobs for people. So we really appreciate the support that we've received, and there are a lot of unfunded mandates. The state of New Hampshire continuously ranks the lowest in the entire country for what our state pays for local public schools, with the majority of the costs, around 80%, coming from local property taxes.
Thank you. Follow-up question, where do I find that list? You said there was a list?
There is a list. Mr. Totten and I were just talking back there. We think we could probably post that list with our budget materials. It's actually not a list that we have developed or maintained. I believe it's been done by the New Hampshire School Boards Association or the School Administrators Association. I can't remember which one, but there is a whole list that goes back for decades of the unfunded mandates in the state of New Hampshire with respect to public schools.
Okay, thank you. I'll keep an eye out.
All right, any further questions? Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Go right ahead. Just state your name and address.
Hi, Kirsten Rem, 7 Reed Street. I'd like to add to that and to what Mr. Balke was saying. The MST program, it's less of a question, but more of a statement that most college is not for children or students. And my son is a product of going to MST. There's no way he would have made it through college. He has really bad anxiety. He has learning disabilities. He went through MST. He is successfully a service technician with a dealership, and he is thriving, and it is because he had that opportunity. And I want to also remind you that you can go to fairfundingnh.org to find out how historically underfunded the state of New Hampshire is for public education.
CTE, by the way, is career and technical education, not trade, career and technical. Okay. Okay. Any other questions or comments on the school budget before we move on to the warrant articles on the school side? All right, I'm going to turn it over to Jared Talbot to speak to those. What? All right.
Allison, great job.
Thanks, Jared.
I know she was talking to me several times, be like, okay, let's go through this, all excited. I do apologize to people. The Madam Chair gave this assignment to me very briefly in a panic, so this is not going to be as polished as all the other information, but I'll try to do my best. As people know me, I don't read from the slides, but I'll try to do my best, like I said. So what you'll see is, for our first article, Article number 3, is our tentative agreement with the GEA. So if you want to find this out on the SAU 19 website, this is a location that you would actually go to. I want to make sure everybody had that. We're going to go over some high-level information, but again, the details are all out there for people to look at. Thank you. Do the clicky click? No, I got it. I think I got it. I guess I don't. There we go. You'll do the clicky click. So our warrant article is up here. Again, this is what will be presented in deliberative session, as well as what will be presented on the warrant. What you're seeing here is a 4-year contract agreement, and this is the additional costs for each year that would go in. So as Allison went through what the operating budget, the proposed budget would be, this is going to be the additional money for that operating budget in year 1. So as you can see, for 26-27, which will start on July 1st, the additional cost for this would be $1.9 or $1,952,009. Now, this is not all coming from Goffstown. If you recall, we do have an area agreement with New Boston, and other people do send their students to Goffstown because it's a great school district. So when you look at the very bottom, you'll see that roughly $280,000 will come from New Boston for these increases. So the actual tax appropriation that will hit the Goffstown residents, even though this is an operating or expense budget, the actual increase would be $1.6 million, or $1,612,392. Click. What is the GEA? And Allison's going to do a lot of clicking because I like animations when I go through and start teaching my students. So what is the GEA? Well, this consists of 258.2 full-time equivalent people. So there are some staff that work part-time, and we're very thankful for them. But when we add up everybody, we're looking at 258.2 individuals, and this is made up of our teachers, our classroom teachers that we have all the way from pre-K at Glenn all the way through senior year in high school. We also have the special education teachers, which are very important. If we have students that have IEPs, that have other actions that are needed, these are included in the GEA. Unified Arts, these are our teachers for gym, teachers for art, teachers for industrial arts, or whatever we're calling it these days. I know back when I was in high school or middle school, we always named things a little bit differently. We also have related service providers, speech pathologists, other activities that are needed to support our students. And then other professionals that we have within the school system, such as our nurses. So that is what makes up all of those individuals that we have. When we look at what our contract priorities are, there's really three different things that we looked at. The first one was establish some of our definitive language that's needed in the contract. There was some ambiguity that we had, and we wanted to make sure that we try to lock that down. So the high-level pieces that we had was streamlining our career and the onboarding processes we have for our teachers. So we'll actually see some examples of this in a later slide, but we want to make sure that we could bring in the right people at the right time and give our teachers the career opportunities that they want as part of their process. We also defined dates and times. So if you were actually listening to our Monday school board meeting, you might have heard that our tentative schedule for next year is starting August 31st, and we had to update some of our dates associated with that, and this agreement allows us to do that. The next piece was looking at our vacation and leaves, very important for our teachers. So we looked at changing the sick bank. Short-term disability is not a thing for our teachers. So they were smart, they established a sick bank where people can volunteer their time that they accumulate into a sick bank, and that can be used in place of short-term disability for teachers that have some type of illnesses that they have to take off. This allows new employees or new teachers to be able to join that sick bank if it's capped out. We also looked at updating our leave reasons. So teachers, they have kids, their kids get sick, they get sick. We want to make sure that they're able to get paid when appropriate, not have to take unpaid leave for some of those items. And then one of our most important items from a leadership perspective, attract and retain our teachers. So we want to make sure, you're going to hear this often from me, the 50-50 plan, something that Superintendent Boelke really put out there. Get our teachers to the 50th percentile in our surrounding area and start them out at $50,000 for a bachelor track. That's our 50-50 plan, and that's what really drove a lot of our conversation here. We want to make sure that we also provide those opportunities for a career advancement for our teachers. We want to invest in our employees. We want to make sure that they're better so that they can be better professionals and teachers for our students. So some of the strategic languages that we have, again, the change, this is a 4-year contract starting July 1st of this year, going to June 30th of 2030. I'm going to hit it one more time, please. Thank you. So these are specific items or language items that we have within our article. The current contract year for staff is going to change from 181 days our children are in school to 180 days our children are in school. However, our teachers will still maintain the 186 days. They're getting extra teacher workshop, and that is very important so that we can have classrooms set up, so that we can make sure that we're prepped for school, as well as some of that development that they will have throughout the year. Yes, the next one was the contract will begin 5 business days in the end of August. So when we have a late Labor Day like we do this year, we're able to start school before Labor Day. I apologize for the Save the Labor Day camps that we've tried to have for the past couple of years, but we will be starting before Labor Day, and this allows our teachers to come in, make sure that they're all set to start the school year. The other items is making sure that our teachers are coming in. Sometimes we have teachers that sign a contract, and unfortunately, they aren't able to work for us. There is a there is a period where we must post to the union to make sure that the union has first crack at those positions that are opened. This is a waiver that allows us to really not bypass that, but allow other individuals to apply for those open positions so that we can get our teachers in place right before the school year. We also added clarification on when tracks start, which will be the day before the contract start or the first day of school where teachers have to come in, as well as allowing some adjustments for those unpaid leave items that occur. One of the big things that our union was really passionate about was making sure that they get a lunch, especially at the middle school. So we wanted to make sure that we try to comply with state law and allow them to give that 30 minutes break. You work for 5 hours in the state of New Hampshire, you get a 30-minute break. We want to make sure that we put that in place. This will result in some changes in our school start and stop times. We are going to be figuring that out as the year goes by if this passes, but that is one of the items that was also very important. And then Article 6A, this is looking at some of the professional development and reimbursement. This was, again, very important, not just for the teachers, but also for the administration and especially for the school board. We want to make sure that we invest in our teachers. Right now, the money that they get per year is equivalent to about one college course. And there's usually 4 or 5 semesters for a master's degree. So we tried to increase that as much as we could to make sure that they're able to use that money. We also increased the ability for them to go to workshops. Some workshops cost more than what they currently get of the $255 or $200. So we did increase the reimbursement rate for workshops to $355. The one note I will say about these two items is if they're not all consumed, so if not as many professionals or employees use up that full amount of money, then people that do use it are able to get some reimbursements, but it will not exceed the $100,000 or $120,000 for going to school for professional development, or the $91,660 for the teacher workshop or for the workshops that they can attend. Item 18A was really that language to allow staff to contribute to their sick bank. So we have a cap on the sick bank. I believe it's 170 days that the union has. Is it 170? Yeah, on the sick bank. Sounds good. I was way off. 250 days. But when we cap out, we are not allowed to put additional days in there. That can be really detrimental for a new teacher that's coming in. So we did add language to say if you are a new teacher, you are able to contribute 2 days to the sick bank to be eligible to use it. You're only eligible to use it if you've contributed to it. So that was really important to make sure, again, for recruiting and retaining some of our staff. For recruiting, we want to make sure they had access to this benefit that the union has. And then our other articles looked at our absences, making sure that we went through and we combined our absences into one section. So as we look through, we can address our items through further clarity of when an unpaid leave versus a paid leave would be done. One of the things that we heard was, hey, we have 15 days that we have of sick time. I can only use 5 days for my child or somebody in my household that is sick. Well, if your kid is sick and you've used your 5 days, you're still not going to be teaching. You're going to stay home and take that unpaid. That was something that we tried to enhance with this contract, to make sure that our teachers can take care of their family and the people that they live with appropriately. Our next item that we have, next slide please, Allison, benchmark. Let's get to the money. So when we look at our benchmark, this is our current year. As we look at this, you have the 50th percentile that we are shooting for. And we have our current salaries for both the first step and the max step of that salary band. So what you see here is a bachelor's plus 15, a bachelor's plus 30, a master's plus 15, and a master's plus 30. The last column that you see is the DGACS. This is for your doctorate or those that have specialized services or certificates with them. Unfortunately, there is no 50th percentile for that last group of doctors or specialists, but we do have the 50th percentile for all the other items. These are the towns that we're comparing against. Does anybody notice what these towns have in common? They're all around us. Exactly, thank you. Thank you, Peter, I appreciate that. That wasn't you, I'm gonna call on you anyway. I appreciate it. But these are the people that we're competing against, the towns we're competing against for these teachers. So that's where this 50th percentile came from. If you see this highlighted yellow bar, this is where we are against the 50th percentile. Don't worry, we'll keep going for a little bit and then come back if you have a question. Lastly, these are the amount of employees in each of those bands. So as you see a bachelor's or a bachelor's plus 15, a bachelor's is somebody has a bachelor's degree. The plus 15 means that they've taken 15 credits after their bachelor's. The bachelor's 30 is they've taken 30 credits after the bachelor's, almost at the point of their master's, but the master's takes a little bit more. Right when they get their master's, they go to the master's and the same thing. So as you can see, if we have the master's plus 30, you can see that there's 17 employees that has their master's degree and 30 credits within college. Maybe they're going for their doctorate, maybe they just love taking additional classes. Next slide. So our wage increases. Again, coming back to the 50-50 plan. What is it going to take to get our employees and our teachers to the 50th percentile? Well, in year one, we're going to do a 5% increase to the grid, the top step of the grid. And then from there, we basically, for each step, decrement 2.5%. Currently, in this year's contract, the difference between steps is 3%, so we've shortened it up to be 2.5% from one step to the next step. Then we also, when we look at this, the year one aggregate. So this is the average aggregate of all employees. Some are going to get a big raise. Most of the people at the top step, unfortunately, Mary, they aren't going to get as much of a raise. But the average that we have for all of our employees is 8.89%. Year two, this is where we put in some other stuff. So for year two, you'll see in year 3 and 4, it's a 3% increase to that top step of each group. Now, one of the things that we focused on is the bachelor's steps stop at step 13. All the other steps, all the other groups have 18 steps. So if you're a bachelor's only and you've worked 13 years in the school system, you are basically at the top, not getting additional items, not getting additional raises. This takes that cap off and puts them at an 18-step system. So there are 11 employees projected right now that would get a bigger bump because they're going to go right from step 13 to step 18 in this year. But I look at this, they might be getting a bump, but that means they're staying with us. They could have left us after year 13, 14, 15, all the way up to 18, but they stuck with us because of our culture, because of our leadership, because of our students that we have. And we want to make sure that we reward them appropriately for that. As we look at year 3 and 4, again, you have a 3% increase. And you'll see the average for years 3 and 4 is $3,150 for year 3, and the average increase is 4.24%, and then 4.17%. And again, it's above the 3% because we have people that are moving up steps each year as they continue to gain experience and be able to continue to support our students. So let's look at our benchmarking for year 1. We looked at benchmarking as it relates to that first or current year. Now what we have here is, again, the 50th percentile, what Goffstown would be paying at the beginning of their step, step 1 for each group, as well as step, top step, step 18 for each group. As you can look at, these are the benchmarking towns, same towns that we had, but you can see the difference between the 50th percentile and where we would be. So this is where we come in from the 50-50 plan. Bachelors, the first step, we want to get them at $50,000. And everybody at the 50th percentile at the top. That's the difference that we have with this contract. If we look at the bottom piece, this is now the top step. Where are we for the 50th percentile of the top step versus what we would be giving for Goffstown? And you can see some differences here. You can see a 0% difference right on it. We can see we're a little bit over, we're a little bit under. I will say, when I looked at this chart, and at the very top chart, when we look at that first step, a bachelor's 30 is getting paid less than a bachelor's 15 from the 50th percentile. Don't know how that happened, but that's what's been happening across the state. But this bottom chart basically says, get us to the 50th percentile, and this is how we did it. One more time. Co-curriculars are also part of this contract. So co-curriculars are those time and energy our teachers are putting in to be a basketball coach, to be a chess coach, to run or to work with the student government. All of that is time our teachers and some administrators are putting in, and that's part of our co-curriculars. So there's a 5% increase in our co-curriculars that we have for year number 1, and then years 2, 3, 4, and 5, it's at 3%, because that's been stale for a little bit. I will point out, Jenny McKinnon, a member of the board, has worked very hard for the past couple of years on our co-curriculars, and we want to make sure that those items are also increased as part of this contract. Just as a note, there are 72 paid sports positions, and there's 64 paid non-sports positions, theater, yearbook. All those other activities that are not sports deserve the co-curriculars, and those are the items that are also in this list. So let's look at our summary. Again, you heard me say this is a 50-50 agreement. We want to make sure that step 1 of our bachelors, they start at $50,000, and that we get to the 50th percentile. This is kind of the overall summary that you would see. One more time for me, Allison. Thank you. So what you see in this first yellow box is this is the increase that occurs year over year to that top step. The first year is the 5%, 3%, 3%, 3% to keep them at that 50th percentile. The next one is the total cost. And again, this is expenses. So even though that we do get some revenue from New Boston, this is what would be on the warrant article. There would be some revenue from New Boston, and I will call it that. It's New Boston taxes, but it's our revenue. And we make sure that it offsets some of those expenses that we have listed here. So for a total that we have, and I don't have my glasses, so Allison, can you read that out for me? $5,458,880 is what the increase of this union contract is. And with that, I will now take any questions, Madam Chair, for this warrant.
Hi, Shannon Carey, 16 Gorm Pond Road. I'm just wondering, can the district explain how this is viewed as fair to the taxpayers, that this contract provides both automatic step increases and across-the-board raises at the same time when many residents have no guaranteed raises at all. And if I'm correct, the Budget Committee, some of the cuts you made on the town side kind of ensured that didn't happen to town employees. So you have the school district getting that, and all the residents not getting that, and the town employees not getting that. So I'm just wondering how you guys view it as fair.
I can answer it. I always look to you.
I
They
have an
feel
answer,
Newquist.
but you take your shot, and then
I'll
say
take
what
my
I wanna
shot.
say.
So with union contracts, this is a union contract. What was presented by the town was non-union individuals. We have a teacher shortage within the state. We have a hard time getting certain types of teachers. Speech pathologists are one of them, where we can't get it. Yes, social sciences is another one. But when we cannot get some of those specialists, we must contract at a higher rate for it. So the goal is, let's recruit and retain the teachers we have, and we have to compete against surrounding towns in order to do it. So Shannon, I appreciate the question, I really do, and I understand the question being a taxpayer as well. But this is one of the jobs that we had as a GEA negotiator as part of the process. And Madam Chair?
Yeah, I was just going to add that on the town side, and correct me if I'm wrong, Derek or Danielle, but I thought the whole point of last year was that everybody on the town side is now at least at the 50th percentile mark for their respective fields.
They were last year, yes.
They were last year, and we've kept them there. The non-union employees, we got up a little bit higher. Having said that, though, I mean, I am sympathetic to that view, Shannon. I really am. And just speaking personally, I mean, this was across the board. This was a hard sell for me. The thing is, governments are competing against other governments. And personally, I think there's a big disconnect between what people who work for the government make and what the rest of us in the private sector are making. There's also a big disconnect in the private sector about what everybody makes too.
Yes.
But, so I mean, I hear you. It's very hard and very challenging, but when you're trying to keep teachers and they're getting paid, they get offers at so many other places for so much more money, what are you gonna do? I mean, the alternative, I just don't see alternatives.
I guess I'm just wondering if there was any prioritization considered, because I can't personally find any data that shows step increases, raises, tuition reimbursement, all those things combined are what retain teachers. So I'm just wondering if there was any prioritization when you guys were coming up with this contract, like, was there any thought of phasing any of this in? Because yes, it's 1.6 this year, but it's $5 million over the next 4 years. And if I'm correct, it's not like after the 4-year contract's up, all these things reset. Right. When we say yes to this year, for the length of time that I live here and I'm a taxpayer, I'm saying yes to this increase every year now. So I have to make a decision this year about the next 20 years living in this town with the school district. So I'm just wondering if there was prioritization put in place.
There was, and thank you for that question. So that's why you see a lot of the phase-in going in year 2 and not year 1, is because we were cognizant of the tax rate and the hit that would occur with that. So as we went through, yes, it's a 5% increase for the first year, but those other, I don't want to call them fringe benefits because I don't think they're fringe, but those other benefits we couldn't get in on year 1 because it would just cost too much. So we did defer that to year 2 as part of that process. Just as a note, we do have a lot of teachers on the top step right now. And that's a good thing. That means that they've been with us, they stay with us, they know the culture, and they like the kids, and they know that even the students and the parents that are coming up. So yes, we do have more than 50% of our teachers, I think, are at that top step, but I don't look at that as a bad thing. People are coming here. Our last contract, we tried to make sure that years 5 through 10, the teachers stayed, because they would come to Goffstown those first couple of years, then they'd go and they'd chase the money at other school districts. The last contract was trying to get those 5 through 10 step people here and to stay, and it's worked.
Thank you, Jared. Henry Geisen, 20 Amoskeag Drive. So I have a question about the professional development continuing education reimbursement, and the question comes from a view of protecting our investment. no question that continuing education and professional development is very, very important. But with this reimbursement, is there any clause attached that they must continue to serve in this district, or that some of the reimbursement can be recouped? It's a technique that I saw when I was in the Army, where you get professional development under the condition of you're going to continue to work for us. I would hate to throw money to train somebody that goes to another district.
I know that we do have, we'll call it a clawback clause for some items. I'm going to look at Kate McGrath for a moment, our HR director, to articulate if we have that specific one for professional development.
My follow-up will be, if we don't have it, if we can implement it.
I'm looking over at the president of the GEA, and she's shaking her head. Yes, we do have that clawback clause. I don't know how long they'd have to stay with us. Mary, I can repeat it. 2 years of taking the professional development, they cannot leave, or they'd have to pay it back.
An apportioned rate based on, yes, okay, thank you, I understand.
It's within 2 years, up to 50%.
2 years, up to 50% for those of you that might be at home.
Christine, Kennedy Hill Road. Continuing on professional development, $120,000 per person. So
No, $120,000 every year for every teacher that wants to take classes.
right, so if there's 100 teachers that want to take classes, they each have up to $120,000? No.
So they have up to $3,000 or $3,000 some change that they
Okay.
can use for the year.
Okay.
And then there's a bucket of $120,000. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Perfect, thank you.
No problem. Yeah, thank you, Kate. So that's about 30 teachers that are allowed to use this for a single class. If only 15 use them, 15 teachers, they can put in for that remainder of the $120,000.
We actually have a question from a committee member.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So I was hoping to see in this particular warrant article, the financial impact to the taxpayers. I wasn't sure the administration can share what the impact would be for year one, as well as all the way through 4 years. So that's very transparent to the public.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. As I said, the Madam Chair here gave it to me, and that was one of the things that I wasn't able to get.
Just to clarify, everyone, I was originally going to do all the warrant articles, and then my mom fell and broke her hip, and I've been like dealing with sorting out her medical care. So I called Derek and Jared in a panic, not because of any problem with the budget, but because I was just tapped out, and they asked them to step in and cover this. So I don't want them to think that there's an issue with this, which is why I didn't.
We got your back.
All right.
We're a team.
Hello, everyone. I'm Doug Totten. I'm the business administrator for the district. So the net amount to be taxed was at $1,612,392. That would be a 58-cent increase to the tax rate. So our median house tax amount would increase by $241.63. That is the first year. After that, it rolls into the general fund, and just like everything else in the general fund, it's impacted by different revenue. It's impacted by the actual people who show up and what they elect for benefits. So it is almost impossible to keep projecting out what the actual tax rate would be, because the tax rate is also impacted by multiple factors as well. So we Sanbornize it out for expenses, but it'd be very hard to be accurate to also bring it out by the tax rate as well.
All set, Brian?
We have another question.
I know, I'm sorry, I'm a pain in the butt. Okay, so I didn't get the exact 200 number, but so what you're saying is if the actual school budget, not this part, the original school district budget passes, and then this passes, you're looking at the average of about $380 for the average median home? That's what you're signaling?
I'm very bad at the simple math. If we want to talk about multidimensional calculus, I'm probably pretty good at that.
Yeah, I'd be lost on that one.
When Allison put her number up and what Doug just gave, if you added those two together and that's what it came out with, I trust your numbers.
Okay, and then we're looking at about $200 on the town side. So you're asking between the school and the town right now, before any other article passes, before we get a Packer, before we get anything else, you're telling the average homeowner that they're looking at about a $500 increase in their property taxes, give or take?
Potentially.
Okay, thanks.
Brian?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a follow-up to what Doug mentioned, I appreciate that. I guess moving forward for the warrant, is there going to be language on there where it's clear to the voters on the expectations for the 4 years? Even though I know there's a lot of variables, you can't forecast that, but I think in good faith, there should be a good faith statement. This is your total impact. Potentially, it's not accurate, but it should be very clear and transparent on what the impact is. So that's kind of request from me, and hopefully a lot of people agree that people should know what they're signing up for. It's a 4-year commitment, it's not a 1-year commitment.
Can I? Okay, but I let Brian talk because he had talked about this in our meeting, and he's following up because there was a miscommunication, I guess we'll call it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
We have our own meetings to discuss.
Oh, that's true. We meet after this, yeah.
Right.
Excuse me, Jenny McKinnon, 25 Meadowlark Lane. Jared, can you tell me the increase in payment that some teacher could get to go to Bedford, to go to Londonderry?
I could, but I would just look at Kate to give me those numbers to then give to you. But yeah, Mr. Bulkey's giving me the 5 fingers, and not as a slap, but $5,000 probably increased to go to Bedford, and a lot higher, he's saying, than that.
Okay. And how much would it cost to orient a new teacher to come to Goffstown?
Yeah, onboarding a new employee in any kind of group, you got to bring them in the culture, but you're not only taking the individual and onboarding and taking time for that, you're having a senior member mentor them as well. So, you know, it's several $1,000s, if not 5 figures, to bring on a new person before they're actually embedded in being able to be self-sufficient. Because it's not just them, it's everybody else that's supporting them as well.
And what's the cost to the student if we are sending teachers to other places where they can earn more money, and having teachers go in and out changes the culture of your school, and I'm sure that your grades are going to go down. Just some things to support it. Also, teachers go to college before they even come here to get any of the extra bonuses that they get supposedly in the learning that we give them here. They have a lot of school loans to pay. And with the cost of college lately, we know that they come here owing a whole lot of money. So if a lot of people in the town don't get, you know, increases at their job, do they have the same amount of college loans to pay off? So there's a lot of different things where we can say, I don't get that, so do they deserve it? So to think about the whole picture of what goes on. And another point I have, there's so many laws changing at the state level with education. The new program, I can't think of what it's called, D6 or what? Pardon me? Yeah. Just changed, and so all of the requirements have just changed. And so teachers and administrators and principals all have to acclimate to all of these new rules that have just been put into place, which requires some extra learning for our teachers. So the workshops and all of these kind of learning opportunities are very important for our teachers to keep up with the state standards so that we don't get into trouble and get fined. So there's a lot of things that people have to take into consideration other than my taxes are going to go up. Because yes, they are, but maybe we should start talking about why some of your taxes are going up and what kind of community we want to live in when we talk taxes. There's a lot more to just my taxes are going to go up. We have to plan for those kinds of things ahead of time. And it's not just coming here and talking about my taxes are going to come up. What do you want to live without? just my thought about it.
That's actually a pretty good segue. I was Kristen Rem, 7 Reed Street. I was wondering if anyone on the select board would suggest how a taxpayer might remind the state of their part in funding education in our town and to move them to action so that there might be some relief on the taxpayer, on the tax burden for property owners, considering that we're 50th in the nation. We have 50 states, and we are funded through the state. We're 50th out of 50, right? We're number 50. The state doesn't fund us properly. Case in point with the tuition to MST. And I would wonder if there are any suggestions on how a taxpayer could move the state to action from the select board.
So just to clarify, we are not the select board. We are the budget committee.
Sorry, the budget committee.
So we can't answer anything for the
Yes,
select
sorry.
board. And I don't think our committee, to be honest, we haven't discussed this, so I don't think we can really answer that question.
Okay.
That isn't really our role. Our role is
Okay.
to prepare the budget for the voters, and then the voters have to take what action they feel is right.
Okay, well, if you think of anything, I would be more than happy to take that into consideration.
Hi there, Christina Donahue, 29 First Avenue. I feel strongly that I can only speak to things I've experienced with, and I'm a teacher. It's been my career my whole life. Unfortunately, I don't teach in Goffstown. I had a job prior to us moving here, but we chose this community for our children. The culture of retaining teachers in schools is significant. The changes of staffing impacts every part of that school community. And when it comes down to it, any career that we're in as humans, the money makes the biggest difference. Let's just be real. So every teacher that is still in this job, it's getting continually more difficult, even if you're at private school, charter school, public school. But they're here because they do believe in those children, and they believe in the community, and they believe in families. And there's still days that they feel, I don't get paid enough for this, just to be real. So the money does matter, and it's, as a teacher who, my husband's also a teacher, we don't make a lot of money, and we have to pay these taxes. I never want my taxes to go up, but I do believe that financially supporting education and directly supporting these teachers is the motivator to help them impact students and families. It truly is. We're all humans. The money makes a difference. So one $250 market basket visit, or maybe $450 in the school year, I would give that tenfold. I want to give that at the feet of the teachers. I want them to make a difference in this community. I want them to feel like they are supported monetarily to make a difference and to stay, because there is a shortage. The teachers that are leaving and moving, it's a significant problem. And I do want to thank the work of the school board, the teachers union, the SAU staff, and the budget committee, who have come to this conclusion where it doesn't make this huge one-time large impact to the families. I think the foresight to say we're going to do this in stages is very admirable. And I feel like that is a good, meet in the middle position to say this matters and this also matters, and we understand the impact. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll move on to warrant article number 4. This is a quick one. So if warrant article number 3 fails, then warrant article 4 is the ability for the for the Goffstown School Board to meet with the GEA in an accelerated format to talk about addressing the article number 3, which is a contract, and looking at the cost structures associated with that. So this allows us to say if the GEA contract does fail in March, this allows the school board to meet with the GEA, come up with an accelerated contract, and have another special election that will cost between $5,000 and $10,000. Now, my hope personally is we don't have to execute on this warrant article, but it may happen. what a special election would look like, we would have one polling place, probably here in the high school, and it would be one day in either May or June that we'd hope to have people come and vote on a different GEA contract if the GEA contract fails in March.
So, just to clarify, this isn't actually an appropriation article, so the Budget Committee will not be making a recommendation on this.
I just know that
in there a little bit,
it does
but-
have a cost of 5 to 10, so we were not sure
but
if
it's not
this
in
should
the-
come.
It's not in the warrant article, so I believe that we do not make a recommendation on it.
Okay. Very good.
Can I ask a question?
We'll move on to warrant article number 5, the Capital Reserve Fund. Shall the Goffstown School District raise and appropriate $300,000 from an unassigned fund balance to be placed in our Capital Reserve Fund? This would only happen if there was an unreserved fund balance as of July 1st, 2026. I know that Doug will get the cost structure on this one, Brian. So, the history of the CRF. Missing a couple slides here, but that's okay. I wrote this one. History of the CRF. So this was established in 2019 as an article where it allowed us to place money into a capital reserve fund where the school board is the authorizer of that fund itself. Prior to the CRF, prior to 2019, we would put capital items in the operating budget, or we would use unreserved fund balance at the end of the year to purchase items that were needed. What usually happened if it's placed in the operating budget, and what we've seen here, is those items are usually cut first. And so that's why it was important to have the CRF. Also, the SAU 19 area agreement has something called a rental fee. So we put in the area agreement that was passed many years ago that New Boston will provide a rental fee to Goffstown for the usage of our facilities. Now, this is based on the actual students that they send over. So what we actually came up with was how many students go to MVMS as well as GHS from New Boston out of our total. Based on that, they are giving us a revenue for us, a tax to them. And you can see from the different schools, it equates to almost $293,000. So this is the rental fee from the area agreement. So we are looking at this rental fee agreement and saying the CRF and the deposit into the CRF is how we have traceability to New Boston to say, this is how we're spending your money that you've agreed to give us. And we hope to keep this in the area agreement by proving to them that we are making capital investments. And when I say investments, it's making sure that we have those capital replacement items in place. So when we look at this slide, these are items that we have purchased in the past from the CRF. I believe, and so doesn't most of the school board, that's important that we show that historical evidence that we've used this for the right things. So for the past couple years, you can see that we have items that are coming in, the 200,000, 250,000, and then we have costs going out. What you see highlighted right here is the work that's been done this fiscal year. Some of it's still ongoing. One of the items that has been completed is that second from the bottom in the yellow, that cistern project. That was $285,000. So it was important that we had the CRF listed here so that we could do that work. For those of you that don't know what a cistern is, it is a large water tank that we use for fire suppression at the middle school. So if you actually had some students at the middle school for this past summer, they didn't go to the middle school for summer school, they had to go to a different school because we had to take the fire suppression off to work on the cistern. As we look at this year, we also have the replacements for the GHS turf field. We had some large donors come in. We were able to put the turf field in. We were able to put a lot of improvements in the field. That field is only going to last 10 to 12 years, maybe a little bit longer, because we're treating it really good. But we have to make sure that we start putting money away because it's going to be $600,000 $700,000 in about 10 years in order to replace that. So you'll see those green items listed there. As part of the projects that we're looking at for 2026, we're focusing on safety and security. And so when we ask for the CRF money, these are the projects that they're going to go to. The first one is those metal doors, metal frames, the security structure we have here at GHS. The replacement of those very heavy, very bulky, very expensive doors is $131,000 estimated, not only for the purchase, but for the installation of those items and the demo of the current items. The next item is $20,000 for smoke detectors here at GHS. They are end of life. Now, if you've ever been in a house and you hear that chirp from your smoke detectors, some of them I see laughing. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those do have a lifespan. We need to replace them. The next item that we have is $65,000 for a firewall that handles all of our internet that comes in. So we use PowerSchool, other learning management systems. We have remote days. We have parents logging in to see how our students are doing. All of that goes through a firewall. We have to make sure that our security protocols are in place as part of that. One thing about this also has an e-card rate match, so we get grants with spending this money. The next item is looking at our network switches. So, not wireless, not phone related, but as we actually run those T1 lines from the computers, those network interface cards, and all those things that we have listed, that goes to a master switch. Those are not expensive. Those too are at end of life. Those too need replacing after a while. And this one also has a rate card match as part of our grants that we would get. Lastly, we do take that $50,000 and we put it in the fund, and I wouldn't say we encumber them because we don't encumber the funds, but we've earmarked those monies to be used for the turf when the turf needs to be replaced. So these are the items that we're targeting if we're able to get money into our CRF for this year. However, there are other unknown items that might come up. Stair replacements, other emergencies. The CRF is there for that. But we don't just have important items, we also have things that we're not able to get. So, through the CIP process, we've listed out many items within the CIP, roughly over $1 million of items every year, and we're asking for way less than that in the CRF. So what you see here is replacement of carpets here at the high school and the middle school, replacement of older chairs. Yes, they are crickety, they still work, but one day they may not. We also have drainage work to do at the middle school and at the high school. We did, as you can see, as you drove in and parked, we did do some resurfacing and repainting here at the high school, but at the middle school, our septic system is underneath our parking lot. Roof repairs at most of our schools need to also be done, as well as, moving on, parking lot, which we've talked about, and then Bernard Park track and resurfacing. So we have a great relationship with the town, and we do some investments in the town resources because we use them. And if they need to put a pickleball court in place, if they need to do certain things, that sometimes comes out of the Goffstown School District funds. And of course, windows, air conditioners, air handlers, all of these items are on our CIP, and we would target the CRF funds into this if we had enough left over. What questions do we have for the CRF? With that, I turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
All right. We are in the home stretch here. Derek, how do I get to the last couple slides?
Oh, is it a different deck?
Yeah.
It's a different.
Thank you. Okay, just quickly, the last two budgets we have to talk about are the water precincts. We are required by law to bring those forward at public hearing. Just so people know, first of all, the water precincts are paid for through user fees, not taxation. And the governing bodies for each of those are the water precincts. They will review and vote on these budgets at their own sort of town meetings. And we do have one representative on our board who sits on our board, Mark Renaud. So quickly, the Goffstown, by the way, we also have copies of these budgets in the foyer out there. So this is for, this budget is for the Grassmere Village precinct. You can see I'm not going to read the numbers because that's just stultifying, but you can see the numbers up there about what their budget is, budgets and revenues. There you go. The next one is Goffstown Village Water Precinct, and there are the numbers for that one. Are there any questions about either of the water precincts? Okay. Are there any further comments or questions to make on any of the material presented here tonight? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Do I need a motion or do I just get to close? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. The Budget Committee is going to hold a meeting immediately after this to make our recommendations, make any changes, and make any recommendations on the budget. So those will continue to be broadcast. So if you remain, we just ask that you be quiet. If you want to talk, head out into the lobby and you can talk out there. All right, thank you all for coming. No, because we have to be on camera. So this is not a great setup for us, guys, because we have to be on camera, and so we're all spread out all across here. So we're just going to have to do the best we can with it. If you guys have something to say and I don't, like,
Elizabeth.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so let me grab the thing.
Elizabeth.
Do we need a quick break?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, 5 minutes. 5-minute break, and then we start our Budget Committee meeting. 5 minutes. At like 8:04. So first of all, I do want to say thank you to everybody who stepped up. Peter, Allison, Derek, Jared, I really, really appreciate it. It has been a crazy week. I'm sorry I've been so distracted, but I'm sure you guys understand. And I also want to apologize, Brian, because I was distracted and I did not follow up on your request, which we agreed with for the tax impact. So I'm sorry that that was not included. But we need to, that's definitely information that the voters need to have. So thank you. Thanks for following up on that. All right, so let's get started. We're going to start on the town side. So we're just going to go through these one by one, and we have to make our recommendations. And we are permitted to make changes based on what we have heard from tonight from the public. So we'll start with the operating budget. We're going to go with that. Joe, you're like the student at the front of the classroom. Pick me, pick me, pick me. Yes. No. Yeah, I will pick you. You're the only one to put your hand up. Are there people with changes or modifications, adjustments to the town operating budget? Oh, no? Okay. All right, then we're going to go ahead with a motion.
Whoa.
What?
There's no changes? Just want to be there.
Yeah, I just said, are there anyone who has changes, and nobody raised their hand?
Okay, just making sure I was clear.
You can call on Richard or me. Depends how the vote's going to go.
Richard, do you have the number? You want to make the motion?
Oh, do I have the number?
Yeah, you have to give the number.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think I got it in here. I will move to recommend the town's operating budget in the amount of $27,519,425.
Second. Jared Talbot seconds. Okay. Is there further discussion on this matter? Joe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This budget is still way too high. I do not believe, including the teacher contract and what we heard on the school side, that this has any chance of passing, and I caution us to recommend a budget that is not going to pass. But I understand there's division in this committee, so.
So just to clarify, though, you didn't want to make a motion to cut?
Well, Madam Chair, respectfully, we already went through this exercise 2 weeks ago when I tried to make a number of cuts. I understand that these cuts are not going to pass. So at this point, the only thing I have to do is vote yes or no on the budget.
Okay, fair enough. Any other comments, discussion? Okay, so all those in favor of recommending that number on the budget for the town, raise your hand. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, all those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And any abstentions? Okay, so wait, I'm going to have to get the smaller group. So that was opposed was Joe, Brian, Doug, right? Mark, and Izzy? Okay. Okay. All right. So next item on the agenda is the sewer operating budget. Joe.
I move the sewer fund budget to the warrant in the amount of $2,225,081. Recommend.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Laura. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. That is unanimous. So that is 13-0-0. Okay. Next item is Article 11, the DPW contract, the CBA. Richard.
Madam Chair, I will move Article 11, the 3-year DPW CBA, in the amount of $47,020, and to recommend that article.
That was Jared Talbot. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. That is unanimous, 13-0-0. All right, next up is the road plan $450,000 from the unreserved fund balance. Do I have a motion? Richard?
Yes, Madam Chair, I will motion to recommend Article 12, the road plan from UFB, in the amount of $450,000.
Is there a second? Mark? Renaud? Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Joe?
I just want to be clear, there's 3 articles that we're voting on from the unreserved fund balance. Keep in mind, the unreserved fund balance is tax dollars that have been kept over. So it says no new taxation on the ballot, but I want the voters to know that any movement of funds from the unreserved fund balance to fund anything in this town will instead, or could be actually used to offset your taxes. So for that reason, I'm not going to vote for anything that comes from the unreserved fund balance. So that applies to the next 3.
I'd like to ask for a point of clarification on that. So what is I should ask Richard. I'm sorry. I'm looking at you two. I should ask Richard. What is the select board's policy on using unreserved fund balance for taxes? Or do they have a consensus for?
Yeah, I don't know the specifics of that off the top of my head. I don't know if we have a formal policy. It's been longer than my time, I believe.
Okay, Derek, do you have that information for me?
Yes, the Goffstown Select Board does have a formal fund balance policy. They can either propose to use fund balance for special articles, which they're doing here on 3, or they can use fund balance to reduce the town portion of the tax rate, provided they're at their floor, their minimum percentage, which they currently have set at 12%.
Okay.
So these 3 articles are in compliance with their fund balance policy, and then they would have that option at tax rate setting. Every year they have that option.
Okay, but that doesn't actually change Joe's point, which is that they could, no?
They can't unless they're at the 12%.
Well, they could change their policy too.
Yes.
So they could.
But the rest of the policy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think my point is that this is a very sneaky way to fund things in the town, and I think we should be more transparent with our taxpayers and let them know that this is actually taxpayer money that has been overcollected, and it should go back to the taxpayers. If they wanted to fund these projects, and I actually think 2 of the 3 of those are pretty valuable projects that I would vote for if they didn't come from the unreserved fund balance, but to be honest, we're sneaking some of these projects in by overcollecting taxes.
Okay, I'm going to let you respond in a minute, but first I'm going to say I disagree with that characterization. I do not think there is anything sneaky about this. I think they have been as transparent as they can be in trying to explain this to people over and over again, and it doesn't all come from taxation, all the money. To me, this seems like smart budgeting to get the things that we have to have without putting additional burdens on people and asking for more money. That's my opinion. Laura?
Yeah, I actually think that this is very transparent, especially because taxpayers can now vote individually on what they'd like to prioritize with the money that's already been collected versus the town just taking it to offset. I know we talk about like, oh, is it too many articles? I know we're not saying that now, but is it too many articles? Do we want to put another warrant? But the more we have, whether they're taxes that have already been collected or not, which has been very clear, we've said multiple times, and it is no new taxation on it, so people will see that, they get more of a say, in my opinion.
Brian?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I think I just want to echo Joe's sentiments in some shape or form. I understand the intent with the unassigned fund balance to help with cash flow, but I really, really wanted to see the governing body take a more considered effort to take a percentage of that to help with tax relief, because people are hurting, and just to not even do that is, I think, is not a good form of governance. So I just wanted to say that.
Peter?
I just want to make sure I'm clear on what we're talking about right now. So on the one hand, we're asking if we could use part of, I'm sorry, am I incorrect about the language? It's the unassigned fund balance? I keep on hearing unreserved. Is it?
It's gone back and forth. The definition is changed. It's
I just want to make
unassigned.
sure I'm using the right words.
Unassigned.
The U, okay. So that unassigned fund balance, I just want to make sure I'm understanding people's logic. We will use money from the unassigned fund balance to reduce taxes. We would support the addition of an article to increase the road coverage by 450,000 by new taxation. I want to be really clear on this. We are saying we would support using unassigned fund balance to reduce taxes. We would support using taxes to support our roads. Is that what we are saying? Is this politics, or are we trying to run a town? Do you care about this town is what I want to know.
I got a point of order, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
That's a little aggressive.
Okay. Yeah. Let's keep our arguments on the issues. Richard?
Yeah. I do understand, maybe not the phrasing, but I do understand the underlying point that Peter's trying to make. If we put this in the operating budget or an article to be funded by new taxation, the tax rate would be higher. Either way, the tax rate is lower than it would be if they were funded by new taxation.
I'm not sure I follow the logic on that one. I'm sorry.
If these funds were to come from new taxation, we would have to tax our residents for it.
Yeah.
If it comes from UFB, the taxes have already been collected. If we use the UFB to fund the article or to lower the tax rate, either way, the tax rate is lower than it would be.
Okay.
If it passed. If it passed, yes.
Okay. All right, I get that. Laura?
Yeah, so I think that's the clarification I have, Joe, because you said you would support the article if it wasn't from unassigned fund. So would you support it if it was new taxation? When would you support it?
So we're robbing last year's taxpayer for a project that we want to fund this year. That's my point. That's basically
So
what the unassigned
would
fund
you-
balance is doing.
You
That's what
said
they're
you
doing.
would support it, though. Would you support it if it were new taxation?
Yeah.
What would make you support
I
it?
would support the road plan, certainly.
So isn't last year's taxpayer this year's taxpayer unless you're dead or you moved away? If
some
you're dead,
cases.
you don't care. If you moved away, you got other things, other fish to fry, right? You got other things going on. So I'm not sure.
I mean, I will say I'm old enough to remember I purchased a house in Goffstown the year that we saved $9.1 million on our taxes. So that situation did actually benefit me. So I will say, there have been
Okay.
situations.
All right. Is there further discussion on this? Laura?
I feel like we have to be really careful with the language we're using because it's what I feel like is extreme language that really skews what we're talking about. We're not robbing anyone. The money has been collected. So like Richard said, whether we use it to fund this, if approved, or use it to lower taxes, we're still using it to support town projects and infrastructure that therefore benefits the town, in my opinion.
Well, the other thing I want to point out is this isn't an either or. If we don't fund this, we aren't guaranteed to get this back in our taxes.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
It's ultimately the select board's decision, and I have not yet heard anything from the select board that indicates that this is we're going to fund, you're either going to vote for this or we're going to refund your money. I mean, they could hold on to it to get closer to their target, which is for the UFB, which is 16%. So it isn't an either or proposition. Izzy?
Did a member of the select board ever state that they do not want to use the unassigned fund balance to offset taxes anymore?
In a meeting.
In a select board meeting on November 13th.
If you're citing I can't recall.
Okay.
Yes, they did. I'll answer, yes.
Okay. But the select board as a board has not officially taken that position.
It was the chair, so.
Well, but, I mean, look, I could be up here, I could tell you guys to, I tried to get you guys to sing, and you didn't do that. So, Yeah, so that, it isn't the official position. All I'm saying is we don't get to say whether this money goes back to the taxpayer or whether it goes to the unreserved fund balance or whether it goes to fund these items. I mean, we can recommend, that's it. That's it. So, Izzy?
But from what I've noticed in my history of being here, if they put it on from taxation and it fails, they just put it on the next year under unassigned fund balance because they know it's going to pass. That's why they switched the road plan and the curbside packer.
All of a sudden, the Packers not a priority. Unreserved, we'll put in the
Well,
unassigned
I
fund
wouldn't say all of a sudden. I mean, if you remember, we asked Adam for his list of priorities, and the road plan was, it was number one or number two. I can't remember which one. It was higher than the Packer, I remember. So, I mean, I think also, again, Izzy, that's kind of politics, right? Sometimes you got to put things on the ballot several times for people to get used to them. I mean, you could also look at that as it's a priority. It's so much of a priority that they are going to keep trying to get it passed from year to year. Laura?
Well, and it's still up to the voters to vote for it. It's not like a trick. You can still vote yes or no. They can put it on the ballot every single year until the end of time. If voters are just voting for it because they see it there, that's kind of on the voter. That's not like a trick by the select board. You're either paying attention to what's on the ballot and you're voting with your thoughts, or you're just seeing it there and voting, and that's not really like our problem. Because I believe as a committee, we're really trying to get as much correct information and inform people as much as possible, so when they are voting, they're making conscious choices. So that's like all we can do.
Is there more discussion on this? Are we ready to vote? Any more discussion? Okay. All those in favor of recommending the $450 for the road plan from the UFB, raise your hand. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, those not recommending, or those opposed, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3. Are there any abstentions? And Jared. Okay, hold on. I gotta write this down. Jared, Joe, Izzy, and Brian, right? I'm not trying to single you guys out. It's just that there's fewer of you.
You can
Just
single
less
me out.
writing.
I don't mind.
Roll call. And what was the point of order?
What are you talking about?
I'm allowed to single people out.
Well, single me out and voting on the non-prevailing side, but
Sorry, I
to
just
single
get
me out
mad
by
sometimes and I
calling
don't wanna
me
do it.
political animal is,
Well, that.
Political animals too.
Anyways,
Those are facts.
moving
You are
on.
political and you are.
Moving on, here we go. Article 13, the fire CRF, the Fire Capital Reserve Fund deposit. Richard?
Yes, Madam Chair, I would like to move to recommend this article in the amount of $350,000 from unassigned fund balance
Do I-
for the fire apparatus fund.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Laura seconds. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All those opposed? 1, 2, 3. Abstentions? Jared, okay. All right, Joe, Izzy, Brian. All right, Article 14, the Goffstown Public Library Capital Reserve Fund with a $50,000 deposit from the UFB. Do I have a motion? Richard?
Yes, Madam Chair, I will motion to recommend Article 14 in the amount of $50,000 from unassigned fund balance to be deposited into a CRF established by the library.
Do I have a second? Allison? Discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Abstentions? Okay, so Jared, Joe, Izzy, Doug, and Brian. Okay. Next up, Article 15, Oh, the Packer for $430,000 to be raised by taxation. Do I have a motion? Richard,
Madam Chair, I will move to recommend Article 15 in the amount of $430,000 to fund a curbside packer from new taxation.
do I have a second? Olivia. Okay. Oh, did you know your initials are O? O-W-E. Okay. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor, raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Uh-oh. Jared.
I'm voting on the prevailing side, abstaining.
Wait, what does that mean? The motion fails?
I move not to recommend Article 15 in the form of $430,000 for the curbside packer.
Well, aren't we just going to have the same vote we just had?
We already had one. It's the only other motion I can make right now.
second that.
Is that legit?
It's the only other motion that can be made.
All right, but first I got to get all the against here from the last vote.
Well,
And Danielle made a really nice sheet for me with this all typed out, and you're screwing it up.
me?
All right, so that is Joe, Izzy, Doug. I'm sorry, Mark, which way did you?
Madam Chair, point of order. How can we be on the side that failed when the motion didn't pass?
Well, I got to write down, I can write down all of our names, but I got to write down the 6 and 6.
That's what I would say is, like, I don't know
But
if
the
we're
little
on the
form she
side
has
that
says
failed.
against. This is where you write the names that voted
Okay, all right.
against. All right, I'm sorry.
I just
Mark,
feel like
which were you, up or down? You were up. Okay, so who else was opposed? I got those three over there. Laura, Brian, and Rich. All right. Rich, Laura, and Brian. All right, so everybody else was for. You know that. Okay, so now, are we doing this again for form's sake? Is there any point to doing it again?
Members could change their vote.
All right. So we'll do vote number 2. Danielle, you'll have to read my arrows. Oh, good, okay. Article 15, to not recommend. Joe, Alexander, do I have a second? Laura says, she beat you again. All right, Brian, I'll give you that one. BM, all right. Further discussion on this? Really? Nobody wants to try and change anybody's opinion?
I think something's got to give. I'm in favor of most of these. I personally think this one is something that, it's something that could affect everyone if things like don't work out. And I think that's the most fair thing to think about right now is like everyone's affected in one way or another. And I think we can wait on this and deal with it as a town later on if we need to.
Okay. Any other comments? Peter?
I mean, my feeling on it is I would feel strongly that, okay, if we're saying, hey, we're making compromises here for a purpose and an intent, and I felt like we said, hey, like, I want to get a sense of, like, are we going to come back to the table as a committee and say, well, we're saying together we're not going to support this. I want to know why, like, what is it in support of? Like, what, we're compromising this. We're almost saying, like, we're almost saying to the voters, okay, you know what? Yes, we know this is a need of the town, right? But we as a budget committee are fine recommending, we're essentially saying to you, hold off on this. But in past years, we're doing that, working towards a consensus that we're working towards something else somewhere else. But I don't see that support elsewhere in the budget. And I would want to see that. But like, because my vote could change. My vote could very easily change on this to say, no, let's not recommend this. But I want to see that we're recommending something that we care about right? That we're making the compromises somewhere else, whether it's the operational budget, or we're saying, you know what, I want to change my support for the road plan because it would be really important to me. Let's move it over to taxation, right? If we're going to take this away, that's an exact example, right? Let's not support it. If we don't support this, it's not going to get passed, right? I think we all have been here long enough. If we all basically unanimously decide to not support this, it will not pass. And we're basically telling voters, don't vote for this. But maybe someone from the prevailing side on the road plan says, let's bring it back to taxation because we want to make sure we get the full support on this. That's where I just want to see that we're working together.
Okay. Olivia, and then Doug?
My only thought on this, I'm in support of it, but that even if it doesn't make it on, it's going to show up next year. So for people that are concerned about things showing up year after year in different forms, it's because it's things like trash trucks the towns need. So even if we don't put it on now, it's going to be on it again.
Doug?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Last year we made a lot of cuts for the CBAs to get through, and I think we really took a big hit on the road plan. So I voted. It's coming from the unassigned, so I kind of went along with that. But I think the curbside is going too far, at least for the moment. I've already compromised, and I think that's going to raise the taxes. And if I'm not mistaken, that's going to also appear in the default budget next year. Is
No.
that true? That's not true.
It's a
Okay.
one-time purchase.
All right. Anyways, because it's going to affect the tax rate, I think it's already going to go up enough with everything else. So I think we should hold off on it personally. And we've already made some compromises. Thank you.
Okay, so actually, my vote's going to flip on this because I think you're right. I think you're right. I was already waffling beforehand, and I don't want to see it get cut either, but I also feel a little bit like, well, people need to feel the consequences of their decisions. And, if this breaks down, we'll have to deal with it and come back with it next year. I mean, nobody's going to die. It's not like we're cutting something from fire or police.
Right, that's what I was going to say. I'd rather see this cut than a fire apparatus be
Right. Right, and I'd rather have the road plan funded, to be honest. I would. And if this is going to detract people from funding the road plan, then I would rather cut it, frankly. All right, further discussion? All right, all those in favor of not recommending, raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those in favor of recommending? Oh, those opposed, sorry, those opposed to recommending. Double negatives are just 1, 2, 3.
Those opposed to not recommending.
Those opposed to not recommending. And abstentions? Yes, Jared. I gotcha. Okay, so I have to get the 3 in the against. So that's Allison, Olivia, right? And Richard. Okay. All right, so that has passed. It's passed to not recommend. All right. Article 16, the select board stipends. Do I have a motion? Oh, you already have your hand up. Okay, Joe?
Madam Chair, I move not to recommend the Select Board, Article 16 Select Board stipends in the amount of $29,323.
Do I have a second? There you go, Brian. Laura gave it. All right, do I have further discussion on this point?
It's been something the Budget Committee has been consistent on.
I think it's a genius idea that you actually put it on a warrant article and let people weigh in on this so that we can put this issue to bed,
Yeah.
one way or another.
Being the one who made the motion to put this article forth, that is pretty much my exact logic. I would like to have a clear answer that is not up to interpretation.
Yeah.
And the voters could completely vote against what the Budget Committee recommends. I mean,
They
there's
could.
nothing saying they can't, but they typically don't, but.
But on a high-profile issue like this that's gotten a lot of press, they might. They might. They can choose. So, further comments? Okay. All those.
Sorry, I get clarification on no means now? Exactly, so definitely, the town votes against it, There's no way to appropriate it, right? So no way to move in 2026 specifically.
Yeah, you're basically voting against the purpose, not the dollar amount.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor of not recommending, raise your hands. So that is all but 2. All right, so that is 12, 13, 11. Opposed? Richard? Jared? Abstentions? Jared, all right. Richard, all right. That is it for the town side. We are moving on to the school operating budget. Yeah, you've got it. Hey, the water precincts are on here. Do we actually recommend or not recommend?
You do. It has to show up on there.
Okay, okay. Am I going to do what? No, they're at the bottom of my list. And I do what Danielle tells me. Okay. There it is. Oh, that's why, he's got to make a motion. Okay, so, okay.
So, Madam Chair, I'm going to motion to reduce the proposed operating budget of the school board by $14,889, which brings us now to a total of $58,545,759. Again, that's 58,545,789.
So can you give me the number again, 14?
The reduction is $14,889.
Okay, first let's get a second. Allison seconds.
Joe, I thought you had it too, but.
Now go speak to your motion.
The reason why is we met at the SAU, and the SAU budget appropriation, basically the numbers came so that we're going to be sending less to the SAU by $14,889.
Oh.
They can't. Rip the piece. So, yes. The reduction was $14,889, and the reason is the SAU budget that is apportionated to the district was reduced by that amount. So there was a reduction at the SAU budget, which cascades to both New Boston and Goffstown. The Goffstown reduction is $14,889, which reduces the overall proposed. This has already been reduced in the default budget.
So, I'm sorry, Jared, can you say that again for me? The SAU budget was changed?
The SAU budget, the amount of money that the Goffstown School District is sending to the SAU has been reduced.
Okay, not that I'm going to fight against a reduction, but I just want to make that clear on the record.
It happens.
Peter?
Am I allowed to ask Doug to give us the updated cost to the median household on that?
It's 1 penny less.
Okay, thank you.
And
1 penny
I
less.
know Doug is working on those when we move this to the warrant to recommend or not recommend.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this? All those in favor, raise your hand.
Hold on, just to be
Oh.
clear, you're doing a nested motion. You had a motion to reduce it first.
This is just a motion to reduce the budget, not to recommend
That's
or
all I'm doing,
recommend.
it's not a nested motion yet. So you're just voting on the reduction. Raise your hands. All right, that's unanimous. So that is 13-0-0. Okay, Jared?
With that, I motion to recommend the proposed school board budget for fiscal year 26-27, the amount of $58,545,759. And I'm going to look to Doug to give the projected tax rate number associated with that.
Do I have a second, first of all? I'll second.
So that is bringing the tax rate for the proposed increase, well, it's bringing it to $11.99 instead of $12. So an increase of 40 cents instead of 41 cents.
We could round up and give the rest to like St. Jude's or, sorry. You know how you do that at the store? Yeah.
We will always accept donations.
Okay. So we have a motion and it's been seconded. Is there further discussion on the school budget? Or further changes to the school budget, actually? It would be a nested motion, but we did this on the town side. Are there further changes based on what we heard tonight? Okay, are there further changes? Yes, the motion is to recommend. All right, so all those in favor of recommending, raise your hands. That is, okay, 12. Opposed? Brian? And even Jared voted along for this. All right.
It's my budget.
All right, Article 3, the CBA for the teachers. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I vote to recommend warrant article number 3 to the warrant.
Do I have a second? Olivia? Discussion.
I have a question.
Oh, ask your question.
What, if this were to fail, and God forbid the other one related to this were to fail, then the teachers, there's no change and there's no contract. That's the outcome for the upcoming year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Doug?
Except they were proposing an alternative warrant article.
No, I mean, if that fails as well.
She said if they both fail.
And then they can't revisit it until.
Until next year.
Oh, I'm sure we'll definitely negotiate, but nothing would come before the voters until the following fiscal year.
Right.
I'm having trouble with this one. I think teachers are the most important thing for our schools, but it's a lot. But at the same time, if they're below 50%, that's terrible.
And didn't we say, wasn't it, that Goffstown teachers are like paid $11,000 under the average or something for the state?
I believe that was the amount.
Like, that is the number that sticks in my head.
And it was an expanding gap.
Right. We got this, because this is a painful one, and when you look at the individual numbers and how bumped some people are gonna get, that's like kind of tough. But again, we can't keep falling behind, and I think it's been dealt with over several years in the contract, and I think we have to, or we're just gonna lose more and more teachers.
Peter?
This is very expensive. It's more expensive than the increase from the actual operating budget, significantly. This is one where I literally would just, I was like, I want to give public comment on this though, because I was thinking about specifically what this agreement accomplishes for retention. That's the big part that I really liked about this. Jared, you mentioned, the last contract really focused on those early years. This is focusing on those later years. I have kids who have been in the district for about 13 years total. And I can speak to the educators that they've been around who have had tenure and have had experience. And they've been phenomenal. Those educators with years and years of experience have been absolutely phenomenal. I was at one of my daughter's teacher meetings this year, and I'm saying this as a plea to the board, truly, like, let's support this. I was there and I was talking to a teacher who said, yeah, I'm probably gonna retire this year. And I begged her not to, because she has had the best impact on my young daughter's learning. She is a spitfire. She needs someone who knows how to handle people. And you don't know how to handle people in year one. I know we want to make sure we're getting the best educators like out of college and getting those best new educators, but being able to really say to your educator, hey, after year 13, 14, 15, 16, we're actually going to give you raises. We're actually going to take care of you. That's what this CBA does, or this contract does. That, to me, is value to the student. Not supporting this is a cost to our kids. And I really think we should be supporting this. I know it is a lot of money, though. And it's going to cost us a lot of money this year.
Olivia, and then Izzy?
All three of my kids are not in the school district, but I do support this because I believe that it's really important that we value our educators and that we keep quality educators in our school district.
Izzy?
I love that we have great teachers here. I love that we have great teachers here. I have a daughter in the school district. I have a son in a charter school because that works better for him. But like you said, the year one teacher can't do what the other teacher can, yet they're getting a huge raise the first year. The baseline's going up, plus they're getting a raise. It's what, 16%?
I kind of wish that I know this is a vain hope, but I wish that even as this committee and this community could look at this issue not as a referendum on the quality of our teachers, but as an expense matter. Even when I look at it as an expense matter, I still am really on the fence. I'm not necessarily going to vote against it because I don't think it's right to pay people less than 50%, like less than the average, and expect them to stay here year after year. I don't think that's a reasonable expectation. But I don't think it has anything to do with the quality of the teachers.
But they aren't going to have anybody to teach if everybody's got to move.
That's true. And just as I said to Shannon, I mean, this to me is more evidence of the disconnect between government and the private sector. And somehow, I have no idea how, and I hope it's not a revolution, somehow it's going to have to get sorted out because it just can't go on. Brian?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I approach it differently in the sense that, and my comments are not directed towards a division or department or even a person or a position. It's more about looking at everything in entirety, kind of the aggregate. And I look at groups of people in a community that literally have passed the impasse where they have to sell. And my heart goes out to them because they're on a fixed income, they can't get more income. And this is, I know some couples are actually selling their house because of the taxation. And I know that's kind of a statewide thing, but it's a reality and it's not sustainable. It really isn't. If I project myself out 5, 10 years, 15 years, am I able to retire, right? So I think not just short term, I think long term. So as an aggregate, this is not sustainable. So therefore, it goes back to my decision for this. I will not be recommending this just because of the overall aggregate of the taxpayer impact and the hardship on a lot of people in the community. And again, it's not to dismiss teachers. I think they should be paid more. I'm a strong advocate of that, but again, as an aggregate, I cannot get behind this.
Laura and then Joe.
So I think can you hear me? Yeah. So I think for the past few years, at least that I've been on the committee, we've been saying, people are moving, they can't afford it. I don't actually know if data is showing that's true. If you look at real estate, and then also I don't know where these people are moving, where they think things are going to be cheaper. And if you don't have kids in school, if school system's not something that you're concerned with at this point in your life, then yeah, maybe it makes sense for you to move to somewhere that doesn't have a robust school system that people do move to the town for. But I just don't think the story of people being priced out is actually happening in mass amounts such that that should be our reasoning for this budget.
Brian?
Madam Chair. So respectfully, I get where you're coming from. These are people I know personally, and just one person who's in the community for 30, 40, 50 years should be not forced out of the community because they can't afford paying taxes. So to me, it's a broader ethical thing, I think, that we have to wrestle with. But to me, it is happening on a grand scale, no, but it is happening. And I think we have to focus on that and really wrestle with it because, again, I said, it's not sustainable. This is not sustainable. And I think a lot of communities are facing this.
Just as a point of order, I guess, on myself, I would remind people that this town does have an elderly exemption that is a substantial reduction for people who qualify based on age and income, I believe, is the two requirements.
If you qualify.
And veterans as well. So Peter, I'm sorry, Joe, I already called on you and then he went, and then did you want to go? And then,
If that has to do with this, I have something else to bring up regardless with the contract.
okay,
but-
Peter, do you?
I was just going to say, well, it is a much broader discussion, in particular if we're going to be talking about elderly and how they're being taxed in the state. So, I mean, I don't think it's a discussion for this table. I think it's a discussion for Concord if we're talking about how overtaxed elderly are on their property taxes. They are not paying their fair share, but that's a Concord discussion.
Joe?
So I kind of want to jump on a pedestal real quick and talk about how the biggest disservice to teachers are teachers' unions. And the unions, especially in this contract, want to serve themselves. Because what I see in this contract is half the teachers are paid at the highest end of the pay scale. These teachers are going to be making $100,000 at the end of the fourth year. Now, we can talk about that, but we can also talk about how we want to recruit. If we're having such a hard time recruiting teachers, why aren't we raising the rate of the newer teachers more? Why aren't we starting teachers out at 60,000, 55,000? I have a problem with this because the union is out there to serve themselves. And there are a lot of new teachers that don't know how to negotiate or what to do, or even if they should join a union, and the union's just going to protect their own people. And I would be actually really interested to know what percentage of the teachers in Goffstown are actually members of the union. I would say it's probably less than 50%. Probably less than 50%. And I asked the question.
He did
I
ask
asked
it.
the
They
question.
didn't have
There
the
was
answer.
no data on that.
Right.
I think that they're really not doing a good service for our teachers. I'm not voting for this because the union is out there to protect themselves, and they're ripping off the taxpayers. I appreciate every single teacher in these schools, and I think they do a great job, but they need to unleash themselves from this union.
Richard?
Yes. I see the point that you're saying. I've had my own concerns with public sector unions for a long time, but the purpose of a union is to advocate for its members. So to say that they're out to protect themselves, yes, they are. They're out to protect the members of their union. And as you said, not everyone has negotiating skills on an individual level, but to say this union contract goes too far, and then to also say that wages should be raised even higher, I feel like the union has been pretty reasonable if you think that the wages should be higher than they're proposing.
I think his point, though, was it's the wrong people whose wages have gotten higher.
Yeah, I mainly just want to point out the fact that there are a bunch of schools that do not have unions, and the teachers are paid more, and they may not be in the have a public sector or whatever. Teachers are paid more because they're able to negotiate for themselves. I think by and large this is a big problem with our public sector unions, that they are in it to obviously raise all their pay, which is what they should be doing. But I think it really does a disservice to the community when you have a sort of pay scale like this. And I just wanted to make my point heard.
So I
we don't
agree
have
with
to
you
go into union
about
drama,
public sector unions, but I also don't think we should make this contract a referendum on all public unions, because that's not fair. I mean,
Well, you and I can agree to disagree on that, but
well,
this particular union, yes.
Jared?
Just to provide some additional information that I did not notate, but I have, and I want to provide to everybody here. We have 258.2 full-time equivalent individuals within the GEA that it covers. So yes, that doesn't mean everybody's in the union. That's just who it covers from a compensation standpoint for all the pieces of the contract. The one piece that you do not have that I'm going to give you now, you might want to write down, is that when we go into the new contract, out of those 258 people, 118.1 individuals will be at the top of the step. They'll be at step 18. For year number 2, fiscal year 28, there'll be 134.6. That will now be at top of step. So 258 total, 134.6 will be at the top. Year 29, third year of the contract, there'll be 141.6 individuals at that top step. Again, that's 141.6. And then the last year of the contract, if it passes, would be 148.6. which is, of course, more than half of the people that are covered in the GEA. So I wanted to make sure that you receive that information as well. And that's why when we say that, year over year, the first was a 5% bump to get them to the 50th percentile, and then it was 3%, 3%, 3%. You can see that those people at the top of the step are getting that, and then any additional longevity that they have in years plus. But I wanted to give you that information in case if you did not have it for your decision-making purposes.
I mean, that data just shows me that we have teachers that love Goffstown schools, whether they're getting a large pay raise or not. And I think we should be investing more in our newer teachers. I mean, that shows me that they want to stick around, whether they're getting a huge pay raise or not.
You can respond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And we are. So if you're at a lower step, remember, we went to the, 5% to the top of the step. So at step 18 from this current year, you're going to get a 5% bump to 18 next year. And then what we started to do is step 17 was 2.5% less. Step 16, 2.5% less. Current year, it's 3%. So if you're on step 10, you're going to be getting a big bump versus if you're at step 18. If you're at step 5, you're going to be getting a bigger bump instead if you were at step 10. So the people with less experience, again, they might have 5 years of teaching. This might be their first year in Goffstown. They're getting that bump, and that's what we're trying to do to attract them and then retain them. So that's why we really focused on that marketing of 50-50. 50th percentile, starting pay for a bachelor's is $50,000.
Izzy?
What is the step 1 increase?
The good thing is I put it in the slide. So for our current contract, a step 1 for a bachelor's, they're making $46,000, I'm sorry, that's the 50th percentile. They're making $44,002. So they're going to be going to step 2 next year. But step 1 next year for somebody coming in, instead of getting the $44,002, they would be getting the $50,000 plus. I think there's some dollars associated with that. But that would be the jump, if you will. But because you're on step 1 this year, you're on step 2 next year.
All right, I think I'm going to vote for this because I do think the teachers are the most important thing to producing a quality education. But at the same time, I understand the bind the school district is in with the state and everything else. But I think we got to be looking at bigger cuts because, again, not sustainable. And by bigger cuts, I mean, I'm going to just lay it out there and make everybody mad at me. I think we should start looking at athletics. We pay so much for athletics. And yes, they're important and they're fun and we all love it. And I was a total athlete parent. I mean, not that I'm an athlete, I mean, my kids are athletes. But that to me is the thing where there's a lot of money there. And if we have to make choices, that's where I would go. So I'm just going to throw it out. I'd get rid of athletics or curtail athletics or make it pay to play or something else and support this kind of teachers instead. Peter's looking very puzzled.
I'm trying to see, like, you're saying I would. For this budget year, you're saying you would potentially propose to revisit the operational budget?
No, I'm not saying I'm changing this year's budget. I'm saying I would vote for this teacher's contract. But this is a huge amount of money year after year after year. And what are we going to do next year when this is part of the default? And we're looking at another big increase. Something's going to have to give. And it'd be nice if it were the state of New Hampshire doing its responsibility, but I think that that's unlikely. So.
Do you have anything to say to that?
Not
you have a pedestal.
I don't right now.
No, he's got to wear different hats at different times.
Yeah.
We got to respect that. Brian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Me personally, I would never cut athletics because I don't think you can elevate athletics over academics or vice versa, because I think athletics, even I was a big part of that. I think you learn teamship, you learn leadership. There's so much you learn in that forum that you don't get in the classroom, so I would never reduce or affect athletics.
Okay, No, I just want to make sure that isn't on the table. We're not going to cut
I know.
athletics on this budget.
I know.
But, Richard?
Yeah, I mean, just as Elizabeth said, it's not something that we're considering this year, but I would definitely echo Brian. I would echo Brian's comments. I would never want to see extracurriculars become pay-to-play in Goffstown. That's really shifting costs onto people who we're supposedly here to defend right now.
All right, further discussion on the teacher's contract. Now that we've mixed the pot a little bit. All right, so the motion is to recommend the teacher's contract. All those in favor of recommending, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Opposed? 1, 2, 3. Abstentions? None. So that's Joe, Izzy, and Brian. All right. Next up, Article 5, the school CRF fund, $300,000 from their unreserved fund balance. Jared.
Madam Chair, I motion to recommend Article 5. As you said, the $300,000 into a deposit into the CRF if funds are available from the unassigned fund balance at the end of this fiscal year.
Do I have a second, first of all? Laura seconds. Okay, discussion.
Mr. Totten will be giving the number if we didn't already get it.
Well, it's from unreserved fund balance, so there isn't.
You're right. I was thinking about the money that would go back. Sorry. My bad.
Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of recommending the school CRF fund a $300,000 deposit, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Opposed? 1, 2, 3. Wait a minute. Okay, do I have an abstention?
Yes.
Oh, Richard, okay, sorry.
Just to be clear, I think I voted against this forever, but out of respect to Jared's integrity, I am going to abstain.
All right, Richard, so against was Joe, Izzy, and Brian. Izzy, I'm sorry, did you vote against? Okay, thank you. All right, and Brian.
No, it's exactly as I said. I mean, Jared has not ever taken the opportunity to try to undercut the town budget to support his own, so, that's just how I see it.
It is traditional that they don't vote against each other. All right, so moving on, the Grassmere Water operating budget. Do I have a motion? Mark, do you want to do the honors? Even though it's not the other water precinct?
Operating budget for $317,850.
Is that Grassmere or? Okay.
That's Grassmere.
So Mark, Renaud, do I have a second?
Second.
Brian Mazer to recommend. Any discussion? I always vote against, well, it's Grassmere, so never mind. I'll keep my mouth shut on that one. Anybody, any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your hands. That one is unanimous. Okay.
I didn't vote for it.
Oh, you didn't? I'm sorry, I missed you. I thought you did. All right, so that's 12. Any opposed? 1. Abstentions? None. Okay, so Peter. All right, now, Goffstown water budget. Mark.
Make a motion to approve the Village Water Precinct budget, the 2026 budget for $9,493,539.
Second. Do I have a second? Joe? Okay. To recommend. This is the one I always vote against because I'm a customer, so I admit I'm conflicted, but I think the charge increases are too dramatic and too fast. And I mean, I've been saying this for like 15 years. It's like, it's gotta be more incremental and slow, in my opinion. So that's why I'm gonna vote against. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor, raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold on, abstentions? Okay, so wait, I have to get the opposed votes. Me, Laura, who else? Brian, Peter, and Doug. All right. I think that's it, you guys. Joe?
Motion to adjourn? I move to adjourn.
Oh.
No, that's why.
You had a pause.
No, because I thought there was something else, but
No, I was just going to remind everyone, we do have a responsibility to attend the deliberative sessions, both of them. February 2nd, February 3rd, they begin at 7 p.m. We have to come to both of them. If there are any changes to the budgets, they are here. Are they here or are they in the gym? They're here? Okay, any changes to the budgets, we have to re-vote our recommendations. That's why we need to be there. So they are official meetings. So please let me know if you can't make it for some reason, but otherwise I will see you February 2nd, right here. Okay, now, Joe has a motion to adjourn, Brian has seconded, or vice versa, whichever, you guys can duke it out. All right, all those in favor of adjourning, raise your hands. Any opposed? We are adjourned, thank you.
Can we get your picture for the town report?